I grew up in a small town in Ohio, right outside of Youngstown. We're best known for our huge county fair and a farmer's market called White House Fruit Farm that has famous blueberry donuts. We tend to experience all 4 seasons in one day, pretty much year-round. The people here love taking on various hobbies like crafting or classic car restoration. But fortunately, I have friends that have found joy and solace in making homemade wine out of their garage, so I popped in to see if I could get my hands on some of the goodness.
Hey, see you there.
How are you? Nothing brings people together like fermentation. From the ancient Egyptians making beer to us sampling homemade wine straight from the barrel, the process of making alcoholic beverages has united people for millennia. While making homemade wine is enjoyable, it is also a tedious process that requires specialized equipment, experience, and a skilled hand. So I sat down with a couple of guys who have been perfecting their process over the past 20 years to see what goes into making their friends and family famous homemade wine.
What kind of wines do we make? We make some Cabernets, some Merlots, some Petite Syrahs. We've tried some Italian blends, Sangiovese, some Carmeneres, a little bit of everything just so we have a variety for everyone to enjoy. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take our existing wine that's been aging in the barrels for about 6 months. We're going to bottle that, and then we're going to turn over those barrels into the next stage of this new wine. We do have different favorites every batch. So far my favorite has been, I think, our first barrel. We didn't plan on that, so we kind of threw everything together, all kinds of different varietals, and we ended up with a very good tasting batch that we don't even know what to call it.
My favorite this time, I think, in the batch that we're going to be bottling today will be the Malbec.
You know what, I have to agree, I've become a big Malbec fan. And we've had some really good ones that have come from South America. We're excited to see if that's going to continue this year.
One of the most crucial parts, that's probably pretty easy, is just cleanliness. It has to be clean and sterile. And it's so important because you can't see anything growing in your wine. You have to make sure it doesn't get in there to begin with.
What I'm wondering, this is the filter. Basically, we utilize this when we rack the wine. We'll usually filter the wine once. It gets out a lot of the extra sediment and things like that. Most of the sediment settles to the bottom of the carboys, but this takes out the finer particles. And we do it again when we take the wine from the barrel, put it into the buckets to be bottled.
All right, so what we have here in the bottom of these carboys is used oak chips. We let the wine age in these carboys. I don't know if it was before we had the barrels or we just didn't have room for it maybe. So we still wanted to get some oak flavor, so we added oak chips to it. It does not exactly the same thing, but it gets pretty close, and it's a much cheaper way to do it.
We have moved to a different level by getting oak barrels for the longer term fermentation to add to the flavor of the wine, give it more character. Really has made a tremendous difference in the flavor of the wine.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think it's time to sample some wine.
After the wine is transferred from the carboys or barrels to the buckets, everyone gets a glass for the final taste test before bottling.
Right here is the moment when you determine whether or not you're going to throw away 40 gallons of wine or start to bottle it. Because really, if the first glass is bad, the rest is going to be bad.
So are you bottling it?
We're bottling it.
Now that the wine has been transferred to the special pour spout buckets and has been taste test approved, there's only one more step to go before it can be bottled. The only thing left is to add a very special and not so secret ingredient.
We do add some sulfites into the wine that's going to go into the bottle so that it does have a little preservation effect.
Now the wine is ready to be bottled. Simply open the spout to allow the wine to flow, and fill a bottle to about halfway up the neck. I even decided to try my hand at it. The only time it gets a little tricky is if you have a wine bottle that's not very transparent. Without being able to see how full the bottle is, you could end up with a spill. After the bottles are full, it's time to top it off with a cork.
That's what 1,000 corks looks like.
Dang.
Good night's work.
This is what 999 corks.
Kay is known as the master corker around here, so I decided to have the best of the best show me the ropes. The process is pretty straightforward. Take a cork from the cleaning solution, pop it into the holder, and place a bottle on the spring-loaded platform. Once everything is in its place, hold it all steady and push down on the lever to squeeze the cork and seal the bottle. She finally convinced me to give it a try, and let me tell you, Kay makes it look easy. While I was not so seamless in my approach, I did manage to successfully cork my very own bottle. But I decided to leave the rest of the bottles up to the master. For lack of a better simile, the whole thing really does work like a well-oiled machine. Each person sets up his or her own station and claims his or her own job to assure the process is carried out efficiently. One group preps and cleans out the empty wine bottles. Another group fills the bottles with the aged and filtered wine from the buckets. And the last group corks the filled bottles so that they're ready to be enjoyed by friends and family.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about people when they go into home winemaking is that it's really easy. In some aspects it is, but if you're going for character in wine and trying to make it closer to what you get when you buy commercial wine, there are a lot more steps that you have to go through rather than just fermenting grapes and bottling it.
I think another misconception is that you can do this without sampling the goods.
That worked out. Cheers.
Cheers!